Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Australian interview with Swami Chinmayananda. So this is about the last of his stuff. I went to his channel and I reacted to most of his things, but I hope I can find more. And Australian interview, and this is actually what he looks like. He has quite the beard and quite the hair. He still looks the same though. And I can't wait to hear what he sounds like. I don't know how old this video is, but anyways, let's go ahead and get started. I know he's like an excitable character, and I like that about him. And it sounds like it's just coming from one ear. Yes, it is. The audio is just on my right ear. That is not good. CC's on. Spiritual activist. Okay, everything looks good so far, except for the just one hearing. Teachings within his 1984, okay. Teachings were Yagna. That's static.
Pranam Swamiji. Swami Chinmayananda is very well known in India, and you've come from a long tradition of Vedanta. This is your first visit to Australia. We would be interested to know what your background is, what activities you have in India at your ashram, and what brings you to the West, and in this particular instance to Australia.
Mainly, we run an institution there which is working as a Hindu seminary, training young boys to understand the depth of our scripture. And they are sent out there afterwards to the various parts of India, according to their language area, and they preach and spread that idea. This is needed because for the last about 800 years, this philosophical part of Hinduism has been allowed to ruin, neglected. So the philosophical depth of our religion is unknown to us in the country now, while the rituals, the empty rituals, are still going on. So this I felt is the need. In 1952 we started it, and slowly started spreading the idea out. Then about 60, I think, I started this school, and batches of them go out every 3 years course it is. And when they are trained, they go out and start working around the whole country. Later on, we found that more and more boys are coming from America. And when they come there, they don't like the food. They're like with a lot of difficulties. So I thought that why not start one in America? So we started another one in America. One of the boys, my friend, disciple, went there, and they trained that one batch of students. This is the main work.
I will say he seems a lot more calm in this one. How much he has changed.
From place to place we go, and in open-air universities, we give discourses upon the Gita, and in the morning class time for limited people, the Upanishads, and try to explain it to them in terms of, or with accent to modern scientific developments that are taking place now. In order to give them some field for service and social service, and become conscious of their duties towards the society, we have started schools. Some 42 high schools are running, some 9 colleges, hospital, dispensaries, diagnostic centers, and that sort of activities, so that these members of our organization can go there and work and learn that art.
I do wonder how his organization is doing in America. I didn't even know this, and wonder where in America he started this. 42 schools, that's quite a lot, but this is also back in 1984. I figured this could have expanded, but then again, I don't know. It's something I should probably look up. I'm just kind of curious as to how is the organization doing and what is it called. I think in his YouTube, it actually has the name, but I think that's mostly in India though. I don't know how it's doing in America.
Swami, you obviously think that Hinduism has something to say to people in the West. You've spoken just now of having a centre in America, and I think you're planning to establish a centre here in Australia. What are the problems, as you see them, of translating Hindu philosophy for people like us in the West? Can we really understand it, or is our culture so foreign that it is impossible for us?
Right. Now, it is only a geographical concept that you are West and we are East. Sheer geographical. Or the color of the skin. The urges of the human mind, the needs and the demands,
Hard to say.
is universally the same. Everybody wants happiness. Even though we are wanting happiness, all our activities are to gain pleasure.
I'm starting to see the old him in here, getting excited. But he's absolutely right. I mean, we are, and this is kind of the interesting thing I noticed about when I read the comments on some videos that I react to about the issues going on in India. I swear, it seems like it's America all over again. The certain social issues, obviously, and I mean, it's so crazy. I'm like, everything I'm reading about the issues that a lot of people are commenting, I'm like, that's the exact same issues we're having over here. That's kind of crazy. Although, I mean, I don't know how separate North and South India is. Like, if you look at in America, there's the race issue. But the issue that I'm reading in India is the left and the right, which in America there's the left and the right issue, there's the rich and the poor issue, there's the racial issue. What else other issues is there? There's the health issue. I mean, there's a lot of issues. And I don't know all the issues going on in India, but I see the left and right issue, which is exactly going on in America too. And I think that's going on mostly in the Western world as well. And I have a feeling the issues are going on in India are going to be in densely populated areas, more developed areas in India. And I have a feeling this is probably going to be the same thing throughout the entirety of the world, is developed areas, whether the country itself is fully developed or not, just in developed cities, especially large cities, these issues are going to rise up. And that's kind of a sad thing. That's my hypothesis. Let me correctly say it that way. My hypothesis. So far, the only information that I have so far is all Western worlds tend to have this issue between left and right. But I'm now hearing in my comments that India is also having these issues, and I don't know where, but I can safely bet in more developed cities. Yes, more developed cities, that you will have the left and right issue. What else? That's my hypothesis at the moment. It's pretty firmly in Western culture, Western countries, but I have not heard anything in Japan. I don't know Sweden or Norway. Mind you, in South Korea, actually. South Korea, Japan, Norwegian, Norway. Only reason why I named those are westernized. Well, two of them are westernized countries, and two of them is a Western country, but they're all homogenous. The diversity in these countries are not as much as you think. They're, mind you, when I say homogenous, I don't mean they're 100% homogenous, but relative to other countries, they're like 90% plus homogenous, or I will say 95% plus homogenous, some more than others, let's put it that way. And I'm trying to think what's causing the issues. Diversity, obviously. It sucks to say that, honestly, that diversity is one of the issues, but again, just still collecting data. Let's continue on.
Pleasure is not happiness. And therefore, what will you make it in life? You are disappointed.
Pleasure's not
What
happiness.
you demanded was not gained. It's something like an infant child wanting milk and screaming. The poor thing doesn't know. Then its tongue goes somewhere near the lips. The poor thing thinks that this is the nipple that's coming, and it starts sucking the thumb. After some time, there is quietude, but then it starts disappointed because no milk is coming, and therefore it starts screaming again. I think that is why the Americans call it as made a sucker of you, sucking the stomach. Similarly, we sweat and toil in order to gain more money so that we may purchase this, that. What they give you is only pleasure, but what we are demanding is happiness. This is there all over the world.
But our
So if Vedanta is given to them, they understand that Vedanta doesn't mean that you must give up your religion and come there. Pursue the religion, but you must know what are the steps, why I am taking these steps. With that understanding when you go, it is more effective.
So you see Vedanta as a kind of basis for all religions?
All religions. All religions based on these fundamentals. All. The fundamentals upon which all religions are based are all collected together, that is Vedanta. But historically, it being earlier, we'll have to say that Vedanta is the basis upon which all religions stand. And if there is a religion which is contradictory to these fundamentals, it is not a religion, it is only an apparent look of a religion.
I have a feeling most major religions are not going to like that saying, oh, we're not really our religion. We are this other religion this entire time. Yeah, no major religion in the world is going to like that. And that's going to be because of pride and... I mean, I get it, you know. Obviously, you don't want to be wrong, especially if you've been following this religion for a long time. You don't want your religion to be proven like, oh, this religion I was following wasn't the real religion after all. It's actually a subsect of another religion, which we should have been following all along. And plus, there's always the control portion of religion as well.
I was going to ask the Swami whether you have, in fact, many Western followers who do integrate Hinduism with the practice of a religion which they had before they came to you.
Now, yes, there are very many. They are still Christians. They have not even asked me to take them into Hinduism. And even if anybody has asked, I have already told them that we have got enough number there, we don't want number. You remain in your... Because your religion also can take you there. But only with a little understanding. That orientation Vedanta gives. So...
Yeah. More reasonable people could probably follow that. But I don't know about, like, preachers and stuff. Whether they can say that in a sense that they're... I don't know how to describe it.
There are very many, especially Jews, Christians, where we have got our centers there in the Middle East also. There are very many Arabs also. But still they are Muslims. They must study there because that is where they are born. From childhood onwards it was there. It is easier for them to appreciate it. So they need not change their religion, but understand that the fundamental, it is all one. It's different ways of reaching the same goal, and the emphasis may be different, but the path is the same. So they are all pursuing it. And
I wonder if he should have said the goal is the same, but the path is different. That would make a bit more sense, I think, because the goal is obviously to self-realization or Brahman. But the path, you know, the 330 million paths of Hinduism, the different path of Catholic, Christian, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, and whatever else other religion is out there. I don't know them all. But yeah, all different paths, all leading to the same goal.
there is definitely a large number, not a small number, a large number of them are following very sincerely.
Swamiji, some people though say that Hinduism is a religion that grew within the social structure of India, and therefore it supports a particular type of social structure, for example the caste system and certain other systems which make for a particular lifestyle, particular form of life, such that it may not be adaptable too easily outside India.
Now, religion has got two aspects. One is the pure philosophical depth religion, and the other is the superficial, the ritualistic, the social discipline. The social discipline aspect of religion will be always reflecting the social conditions where it was born. For example, in Islam, there at that time, the 4 tribes were fighting with each other. To integrate them was the main idea. They were fighting among themselves because of the idols that the Greeks had left there. So then naturally the emphasis was no idol worship, take the thing away, so that they call it their mutual fighting is ended. Then they get together. So then what I meant was there will be this concept of the reflection of the social conditions of the time in the superficial behavior of the religion, the ritualistic aspect. But the depth of philosophy in it will be universally applicable.
You are emphasizing philosophy, Swamiji, and yet some critics would say that for the average Hindu, the philosophical preoccupations are of very little relevance. Their religion is more to do with precisely rituals, the rites, sacrifices to the gods to get boons for themselves, and the media is more the mythologies rather than the scriptures and the philosophical things. Hence, they may even go on to argue, as some people do, that the philosophical thing was imposed on these people by a particular class of people who had an interest to rule the society in a particular way.
When I got headache, I take an aspirin. I need not know what is its composition. But a few university students will have to know it because they are studying for the particular science of it.
I mean, I can agree to the degree. You know, whenever I have a headache, you take Tylenol, aspirin, or whatever. It's not good that you don't know what you're taking, but you just know that it works. and I can't exactly blame people for doing something they don't know just because there's too much in the world to know. I mean, again, a simple thing as like taking aspirin or Tylenol for a headache. I mean, this goes back to something I think about, thought about actually again a little bit earlier today. It's about what is it? People should know things. What should they know? Well, they should know how to take a bath. They should know how to brush their teeth. They should know how to drive a car. They should know the laws of driving a car. They should know how to defend themselves. They should know the laws of defending themselves. Well, what's the laws of driving a car and defending themselves? It's quite a lot. You know, there's a lot of, there's like, you know, the different kinds of signs, different kinds of colors. You know, you don't, even though people who's been driving for a long time, they don't know all the laws of driving a car, but they know enough to get by. They don't know everything, and who do they blame if they get in trouble with the law while driving a car? It's themselves, because they didn't study it all. They don't know it all. So, okay, you say, okay, well, I need to study all the laws of driving a car. Self-defense. Well, you need to know all the laws of self-defense. Well, you can study a few things here and there, but then all of a sudden you get in trouble because you didn't study all the laws of self-defense. Then you got to learn all the laws of self-defense. And then Tylenol, or you have a headache. It's like, oh, well, you know, if you get some kind of irritation or infection or something because you took Tylenol, well, that's your fault because you had everything there listed telling you what's in it, but you didn't study up on the chemistry of Tylenol, and also you didn't do blood work on yourself because you don't know what you're allergic to or not allergic to, or whether you have some kind of issues that you can't take Tylenol or aspirin or whatever. And it just becomes so many things that you have to know that I can't blame people exactly for not knowing everything about everything. There are certain basic things that you should know about. The laws of the country that you're in, the laws of the city that you're in, the laws of the things that you're doing. There's just so many. It's it's kind of, you have to just like, you know what? I'm just going to go through life. If I get in trouble, I'll figure it out then. But you cannot blame anyone because you did that. I'm sorry. I went really on a tangent on that, but the whole point was the fact that, you know, he just said, I'm just going to take a Tylenol, which I don't disagree with, but we cannot just blindly do things and not realize the effects of doing something, whatever that may be. We should understand why we're doing it, and we should understand that if we're putting something in our bodies, that we know all about it, because if something happens, you've only got yourself to blame on that. But in the United States, you can actually sue the company.
Is it? In the same way, philosophy everybody need not study, cannot study. You see? But those who are studying it, they must continuously study in depth. To the average man, the millions in the world, the ritual, the church, the mosque, the temple, and go there and for the time being mentally quieten yourself. And have got a faith that there is a forgiving, all-forgiving, infinite Lord whose grace will be with me is more than sufficient. Philosophy is studied only those who have got questions in the intellect. How, why, when? Then to them to satisfy them, the philosophy is given. It's not everybody who has got it. So that idea is not there. You also mentioned in between of the caste system. Casteism is the pervert, evil in our society today. But caste, you can't remove it. It is a scientific classification of human personality. There are Brahmins here in Australia. There are Kshatriyas, dynamic men of action, the politician in this country. Are there not commercial people here? The Vaishyas? Are they not mere brawn? Are they not good people here? You have to be whipped in order to get work out of them. Which part of the world is not there? These are the four names, and the original name, when you say, you immediately think of the decadent Confucians in India, but translated in English. Are there not brain trust in every part of the country? The Brahmin? Uncompromisingly living their own convictions. Are there not dynamic men who want to bring those ideals into society and working? The leader class, the commercial, and the workers. Huh?
So you see the castes as psychological types?
Types.
Yes.
Psychological classification of the human minds. These are there all over the world. Casteism. Later on, what happened in India was, in the 2nd century, 1st century, they started eugenics. They started a human breeding experiment. Just as we breed today horses and dogs, where we are very particular that the breed must be the same breed, so that we may get good pups. They were anxious that we get good human beings, geniuses. So they, in order to do that, they selfed. That is the first, the word technical term in agriculture, selfing. So that Brahmin should marry only in Brahmin. Thus their qualities are brought out. This experiment was done in the 1st century. And true enough, we had a harvest of geniuses in the 2nd century. Astrology, astronomy, medicine, mathematics. All these rose up at that time. But they continued. There was no other creative master to say that stop it. They continued. Therefore it has become more and more mutant. They what do you call that technical term? I forget now. That after some time, the seeds become very weakened.
Yes.
So today the Brahmin class has become weakened because of this inbreeding. You see, the parties have become inbreeding. That sort of thing has happened. So then what the situation was, the thing was that this was an experiment done. Slowly, the Brahmin class and the Kshatriyas together became the power politics in India. So the Brahmins started keeping away all the other parties or other castes away from the scriptural study, etc.
Oh man, it's kind of hard to hear what he's saying sometimes because it's not quite clear audio, and it's also still mostly coming out just the right ear. And also, the subtitles aren't quite exactly 100% correct. So, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time understanding some of the things he's saying.
So you see present-day castes as a degenerate form of the...
Very degenerate form. But we can remove the casteism. That is why that word I used. The casteism we can remove. But caste you cannot remove. Caste is not who translated Varna into caste.
Yes.
I don't know, he must be congratulated. It's so beautiful. Because today we have got casting. A part of the machine you cast. So first you make a cast in clay and then you pour the metal into it. then you get the same design mold. Similarly, there are 4 molds for human minds. Thus, and they become those who have got highly intellectual pursuits, and there are the others who are, dynamic men of action, wanting to serve the society, etc. There are others who have got always an eye on the profit. And there are others. If you can take work out of me, take. But give me food. Let me rest. That's sort of everywhere in the world. Even in your family we can find one son is a Brahminical type, other is in the same blood and same family. So it is a human classification. And therefore, don't say that casteism is reflected in it. No.
Yes. No, it's not so much the caste system, I think, as much as the jati system. The jati is a sort of a sub-caste system which proliferated in India, and so much so that we have within the same varna many different jatis.
Even the best of things, when it is in society for some time, it becomes worst of things.
Ooh, already said there. This is something I've been thinking about for the most part, is the fact that this applies to also things that are run by the government as well. Generally speaking, things run by the government, well, at least in the United States. I don't know if anywhere else, if it ends up this way or not. And it's not to say that all things, but it feels like it's most things in the U.S. government that when the government gets a hold of something, or whenever the government does something, initially it's quite good. There's a lot of passion behind it. There's a lot of things that are done right initially. After some years, it just goes down the crapper. It becomes worse, and it's exactly what he's talking about. And I thought about this. There's just, I don't know if it's true or not. It just feels that way. Mind my words, it feels that way. Now, it's not to say that everything that it does is bad, but it's just that it's all of a sudden not well maintained. There's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of people taking advantage of these things, which should not be done. But that's the point. It's kind of like it's been set in place, rules have been put, now let it run itself and ignore it. They don't go back and look and try to say, okay, time has changed, let's see if anything needs to be changed about this aspect. If not, we'll keep it the same. If there are certain things that needs to change, we can change it. It's like it's set, done, good, let it go. That's all.
Human man when he contacts, he perverts everything for his own selfish ends. This is in nature. So there's such a beautiful thing as the caste system has deteriorated. You are telling me the story of his decay.
Yes.
So we are planning to have a revival of it. And this jati and all that is gone now in India. You are talking from some books. From library you may talk, but in India it is gone because the economic development and everybody is fully engaged in it. There is no time for it.
Swami, that leads to a question that came to my mind listening to you. The impact of Western technological culture in India is as great as in other countries.
Yes.
I wonder whether the caste system that Purushottama mentioned and that you've discussed would also have been affected by the impact of technology, Western ways of living and Western ways of organizing industry, so that the kind of Hinduism you are now teaching, a more philosophical approach, not only has to correct simple-minded country people, it has to also correct perhaps a changed Indian culture?
You're right. This technological shock has shocked all cultures. Chinese culture is wiped out.
I mean, yeah, any kind of introduction to the outside world obviously is going to have an effect internally. And again, this goes back to like large population areas, like I was talking about a little bit earlier. Was I talking about in this video, or is that another lifetime ago? But it goes along with technology even in the United States. Whenever 5G or 6G comes out, it's not gonna be all over the United States. The United States is a massive country, and there's not people everywhere in the United States. There's a whole bunch of blank areas in the United States. They're not gonna put a 6G tower in a blank area. No, they're gonna put them in metropolitan areas where there's 5 billion to, well, maybe not 5 billion people, but like 5 million people, where it can affect the most people. and then it slowly trickles out from those areas, because it costs a lot of money to have these things. So it's better to put them in densely populated areas so that most of the people can benefit from it. Same thing with these areas here. You know, there's certain areas in all cultures where the most densely populated areas are going to get the good stuff first, and then from then a couple of years after it'll trickle out.
And there are only Chinese and the Indian culture that is still living in the ancient time. And to an extent it has colored the Indian philosophy, Indian culture also.
So that perhaps you are reviving Indian culture to some extent by your
No,
work.
at the same time upgrading it to the modern times. It
Upgrading
has
it.
to. Every culture has to.
And you feel that Hinduism, in this purified form that you teach, can upgrade a modern, degenerate Indian
I think
culture?
so. No, I can't pursue, and I'm not forecasting, but I think that these are the situations in which, without compromising the philosophical conclusions arrived at in the past, it has to. Now, really speaking, the New Testament, what is new in it? Old Testament upgraded to a certain need of the society. Is it not? This is...
Oh man, speaking about that, I did not know in Christian texts that there are people out there who determine what goes in and out of the Bible. Apparently not everything's published in the Bible. There's certain sections, like let me explain it this way. Imagine there's 100 things to talk about in the Bible, and say, you know what, this 75 things, we'll put that in the Bible and publish it. This other 25, it's not quite safe for this time. We'll save that for later. Maybe, if it's safe. So, and then maybe another 75 years, okay, let's take out this one and put these two in here. So 76 things go out, 24 not safe. Yeah, I did not know that. That was quite interesting.
It's very clear in the Indian history. Our culture, the Bharatiya culture, the Indian culture tradition, was the ancient. She saw rather, the Greek culture rising, coming to eminence. She applauded it, and then she was sad when it was decaying, and we presided over complete annihilation. Roman culture rose up, died away. Egyptian culture rose up, died away. Macedonian culture rose up, died away. All these we witnessed. But the Hindu culture is even today, we are discussing now, because it is not a historical in the library only, but it is dynamically living. Now, what is the secret of it? I'm answering your question.
Yes,
what is the secret of it? Nothing in the world can be permanent. So a culture also must decay. Our culture also many times decayed. But every time they all thought that Hinduism is dead. She got up at the burial ground and said, "Where have you brought me? What is the matter with you?" She revived. Each time when we thought that it died, it revived. Somehow or other there is that intrinsic vitality in this culture that at the last lingering moments, a great master or a great leader is thrown up. Who uplifts it? Thus the Vedic culture was dying, Vyasa was thrown up. The Pauranic culture came. The Pauranic culture also decaying. Great Hindu rose in revolt against it, called Buddha. Buddhism maintained for some time. By the 7th century, Buddhism also decayed. Split into small groups. Great Shankaracharya came. Shankara's answer also is not permanent. 8th century Shankara revived, 11th century Ramanuja had to come. 15th century Madhva had to come. 19th century British rule. People lost their self-confidence. They will not do anything. The great Vivekananda came and revived him. So our culture is maintained even today only because of its own intrinsic vitality through the right type of person at that crucial moment who could answer the weaknesses of that time, correct it, and give it a new push, new life.
Swami, one of the essential features of Western culture has been its rationalism, right from the time of the Greeks, and I suppose with the development of science and technology from the 17th century onwards, once again, our culture has been much more rationalistic than other cultures. We've tended to think that unless we can work everything out by reason, then it's not there. Now, I take it that you see in Vedanta some way of transcending this fixation on rationalism. Do you think in Western culture we've forgotten what you might call very loosely the mystical tradition, the mystical dimension?
When I am doing agriculture, let us say, first the flower comes out. Then I watch for a few days or a week or 2 or 10 days, the flower perishes. Then the fruit emerges. Watching what is happening in my garden, if my neighbor also starts, and the flower came, and he said, why waste 10 days? The flower has come. Now the flower takes 10 days before the fruit can come. So he plucks the flower and throws it away. Do you think that any fruit will come out of it? The flower must come. The flower must open up. The opening of the flower is not its fulfillment. The fruit must emerge out of it. Rational, intelligent thinking is necessary. In Vedanta, logic, the Nyaya and Tarka, it's a hair splitting, I tell you. And without that subtle intellect, you cannot understand Vedanta also. But then Vedanta never stops there where the British or Western countries stopped. Mere rationalism, mere rationalism. We understood the limitations of the intellect. So intellectually, to come to a conclusion, rational thinking is necessary. Rationalism has got a place. But then after all, even rationally when you conclude, it is only a thought. Who is the knower of the thought? What gives it vitality? It is the awareness and consciousness of subject. I conclude, isn't it? You conclude that there is no God, and therefore you say, I am an atheist. He concludes that there is God, and therefore he says he is a theist. But both these are conclusions of the intellect. Who came to know of it? See? So, anyadeva tadvididadhau avididadadhi. Just now we are taking Kenopanishad. It is something, this great reality is something other than what you know, and something more than what you don't know. To know and not know are the intellectual concepts, conditions. Who is aware in this?
I kind of wish he said, okay, who is the I that says I'm aware, or I want this, or I am theist, or atheist? What is it? I wish he would ask them and then let them answer. I'm curious as to what they would say.
I know what I know, and I also know what I don't know. Then who is this I? It can be these known and unknown. They are the objects of my awareness. This awareness must be me. Thus we go beyond. Therefore everybody thinks that no, it is not rational. Without rational thinking you cannot come to that point. We must live through the intellect to the zenith of the intellect, and then must have the heroism to go beyond the intellect. That they don't.
And this is what you are teaching your young boys and spreading...
Exactly, mysticism. Through intellect. Because if you just merely talk mysticism, they will not understand. Through intellect, satisfy all your questions. How, why, when, what, where, who. Even after all these, what is the conclusion arrived at? Is only an intellectual appreciation. No, it must be a spiritual apprehension. So we push them towards it.
And you think it's possible to discover some kind of basis for unity, say, between the tradition of Christian mysticism and Hindu mysticism?
Now look, at the mysticism level there is no quarrel. All are one. It's as if everybody copied from the other. Honestly, even phraseology is the same. Now even your description of God or the highest reality, it is timeless, it is birthless, it is deathless, immortal, eternal, immutable, changeless. These are the same words in all the... Quran also says the same. Christianity also says. You see, it is only in the lower level that the distinctions. The church is not like the mosque. Mosque is not like the temple. The puja vidhi is different. The dress is different. What you offer to the Lord is different. But that is because of the climatic conditions, etc. On these unnecessarily power politics, I tell you, that is nothing but, it is not religion that is quarreling. Religion with politics quarrels.
And perhaps it always will.
Exactly. they are mutually allergic to each other.
Say allergic?
When religion and politics come together, religion also spoils, politics also spoils. Look at Iran. Is that politics? Religion spoiled it.
Well, you also were talking about revival going on in India of traditions. Would you say revival, or would you also talk about, say, progressive evolution of a tradition? In other words,
No evolution possible. We have reached
what's
the
in the
zenith.
beginning is also in the end.
Yes, we have zenith as a reach, as a Vedantic vision. We have reached the Brahman, the reality, beyond which there is nothing.
We reached there in Vedanta, though. Now, somebody might say that the whole Vedic tradition is an interlude, they say, between what was the proto-Hinduism, which was in the Indus Valley civilization, and then the later Hinduism, which arose with bhakti and so forth.
It has nothing to do with this, what we are talking. Bhakti is only one of the new ways of approaching the antakarana shuddhi, or the inner purity. Prepare you for contemplation. After the contemplation, when you are contemplating, whether it is Krishna or Shiva, the pure state is the same. Even in Puranas. Sri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. Sri Krishna is nothing other than that Paramatman, that supreme state. It is being conceived in the form so that the mind may fix itself up. So that is all means. Means are being evolving.
But do you think there are any changes possible in Vedanta due to, say, the advent of modern science and Christianity? There's been a lot of rethinking, I suppose, of Christianity because of the advent of science.
Right. Christianity has to, because Christianity unfortunately stood against science. In India, we never stood against science. We said this is para, and that is apara knowledge. This is lower knowledge. This is higher knowledge. And we applauded the lower knowledge people. Continue.
What do you say to the scientists who say, no, it's really the upper knowledge, the science is the only sort of knowledge? Lots of scientists say that.
They call that. But then when it came to now sub-nuclear and subatomic science, the metaphysics and physics are merging together.
There is a kind of mysticism of physics today.
Exactly, it's exactly what I'm saying. Because that marginal line they can't understand. Whether it is spirit or energy or matter, they can't say. All of them are merging into one. I mean, wait another 20 years, you can afford to. You are young.
20 years. 2004. I don't know if that happened or not. 20 years.
I will quit. In another 20 years' time, I'm sure that the entire attitude will be changing. Many of the higher physicists have changed their attitude.
I wonder if it's happened.
So then in the great Vedic period also, I think that they searched first outside the reality and found that it is all pointing towards him, and then therefore they left that. Those who want to play with it, play. They entered into a higher state of searching the spring of all consciousness within themselves. When they reach there, they say that they have all satisfied, all questions are solved. There is nothing to question about because there is only one infinite self.
One of the complaints that Westerners make about Eastern religions in general, not just about Hinduism, but say about Buddhism, is that they're not really concerned with improving man's social lot, that they're not concerned with social justice.
Right.
Is that true, do you think?
It is true in the sense that we don't strut about saying that we are going to save mankind.
I was gonna say, it's like, it doesn't, I was gonna say, I don't think it points outwards to solve problems. It points inwards to solve outward problems. Because a lot of the problems outward is inwards. I hope that makes sense. A lot of the issues that we have in the world today is because people have problems within themselves and they take it out into the world because they don't know how else to solve this problem. People are trying to change the world to make the world how they want it to be, when in reality they do not have control over the world. They do not have control. They do not have right to control anyone. They have absolute right to control themselves, to change who they are, and to set up their living conditions to however they please themselves. You know, if they want a fancy place, they can, if they can, you know, or homeless or whatever, you know, up to them. They can absolutely make that decision. But the problem is, a lot of people out there are trying to change the world to what they personally want it to be, regardless of how that happens, even if it affects a lot of other people. People are selfish in a sense.
And bring about every 25 years a total world war for peace. We believe that if man individually can reduce his ego and selfishness a little, social order automatically comes. Even today, what is the social difficulties? Our selfishness only. Countries have got selfishness, communities have got selfishness, isn't it? The trouble that is coming up now here, Asia, go back, Asians, go back. Why? The selfishness that we are not getting that much of a job, we would have got more job. You understand? Stand apart, I am not politician. Stand apart, I am just giving you a vivid example. So too everywhere, the rich doesn't want to share it with others. The poor doesn't want to work, but want to get a share of the rich. I mean, everywhere, selfishness comes, even in your family. If the man is more selfish than the woman, they have to part each other.
Would you claim, Swami, that Hinduism is better equipped to handle this universal problem than other religions?
I wouldn't say that.
It seems to be a universal problem, doesn't it?
Yes, I wouldn't say that. Every religion is capable of that. But to the modern youngster, the appeal of the Vedanta would be much more stronger. Why? For the last about 4 or 5 generations, we have been massaging the head of everybody at the expense of the heart, isn't it? Humane qualities, where do we teach? In your university, which is the class where the humane qualities are displayed? Never. It's all rational. And when you are purely intellectual and no emotional beauty in you, according to Shakespeare, he is a villain. Bolingbroke, Richard II. Bolingbroke is the villain in that poem only because he is purely intellectual.
He says the same about Cassius too.
Yeah, Cassius also says
men in danger.
So there you are. So I am not exaggerating. So they said, no, if man has fully developed and learned the art of giving up a little of the animal selfishness, in the animal level it is a glory, because self-preservation. But having become a rational human being, you have no duty to preserve yourself.
How does a Western student then begin to get to grips with Vedanta?
One thing is that we first ask him a few daring questions.
I like the way that Australian guy says Vedanta. It's so Western. I say it like that too, I think.
What is life? Why are you here? What have you done for yourself all these years? You are 30, 35. What did you do for yourself? You earned a little money. For whom? For the wife and children. You built a building. For whom? For your wife and children. What have you done for yourself? He's shocked. By Jove, I never thought of that. Help him within his own selfishness. Slowly make him understand. Then what can we do now? What is it that we can do for ourselves in life? Don't tell me that you earned a lot of money. That is for the banks. You get only a bank book. But the money is used by the bank. That is not for you. What is it that you have done? What is your contribution? Not I am talking to society, to yourself. You ate and spoiled good food. Is that what you have done? Then they become shocked. And what is it that we can do? You understand? So how can you master yourself? And through that self-mastery, how can you master the environments and situations that come around and about? At this moment, you are an automaton. If everybody is rocking and rolling, you also rock and roll. You can't neither come out of it, and everybody is taking drugs, you have to take drugs, full stop. You are not yourself, you have no individuality, you don't think for yourself, you don't carve your own life. You dress as everybody else dressing. You eat because everybody is eating. You drink because everybody is drinking. Where is your life gone? When there is positive, but the naked questions are asked, they become really upset. Then we start slowly. By a chart, we try to explain the fundamentals as quickly as possible to communicate. Because, the old method of studying takes about 4 years. The elementary things. The categories, all right, of the science. Then applying it, you have to go into the science. It takes that, which now we have reduced it to 4 talks, about 1.5 hours a day, 4 talks, and through the help of a chart and all that. So they get a grasp of their own inner working of their personality. What are the weaknesses of it, why the weaknesses are there, and how am I to get out of those weaknesses? They get the idea of it.
How important is the study of the scriptures in this?
Oh, the scripture alone is the only authority. Because, they did not accept me. I may be bluffing. Nobody has got the right to say anything about it. It has been all said in the scriptures, which has been again and again confirmed by various masters with their experiences. So those very scripture we teach, and from there we evolve and explain to them how and its application today in life, which they may not be able to immediately, that we will try to apply, give it to them. There you are.
The scriptures, Swamiji, as you said the other day, also say that the Hindu god is Achalam, immovable. You can't move. How are we going to move the Hindu god to the west? That was just a side comment. But where would you place, say, Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo in the context of modern Hinduism?
Both of them were great seekers. One sought it in society, and the other sought it in retirement. Both are seekers, great seekers. And we appreciate them more because they have been useful to the society. They had a relevance to their age. So the other seekers who are seeking there in the Himalayan valleys are ignored by us because we don't know what they did. These people did it, and therefore we say that they are great. But they are all seekers. They are on the path. A Mahatma, a sadhu, from Uttarakashi, that is one part of the Himalayas. He went there to Mahatma Gandhi in Dehradun, and early in the afternoon he was sitting and doing the spinning. As usual. So at that time he got the interview, so he went there. He went there and with that excitement, he's a pretty old man. He said, Maharaj, Gandhiji, now you have done enough to society. Now why don't you come to the Himalayas? So he said, yes, but in the Himalayas what will I do? So he said, seek there the peace that passeth all understanding. The peace. Live peacefully there. You have done your share. Mahatma Gandhi, as he is doing, he has not stopped it. You are still doing this. Swamiji, you are seeking peace in the Himalayas. Gandhiji is seeking peace in peacelessness, in struggle, in the world. Ashanti mein shanti dhoond raha hu. You see, Ashanti means where there is conflicts. There I want to discover peace, and not peace in the peaceful realm. He explained, that shows that he is still seeking at that time also. Only thing is, some seek it in the world while serving the society, karma yogi. Others will be withdrawing and philosophical study and contemplation, meditation, and he who doesn't want to meet anybody and quietly and undisturbed, he did that, Aurobindo. So all these are seekers only.
Gandhiji confessed that he had not read the scriptures. Well, not many. He read some of the Puranas, but not the Vedas and so forth. So in light of that, would you say that he compromised Hinduism because he wanted to have Hinduism adopt to a modernizing India, or would he have kept quite close to the...
Now, when you say that studying the scripture, scripture is not Veda. The Upanishads portions are called the scriptures of India. Upanishads and the Gita and the Brahma Sutra, these are the three main scriptures of India.
Vedanta.
Vedanta, for 3 main books, of which Gita he has been studying. Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. So you can't say that he has not studied the scriptures. What are you talking?
He says it.
He says it in the because he has not done the orthodox method, gone to the university of specializing, university in the Himalayas, specializing it. He did not do it. But the Gita, he has written a commentary also. And there's certain portions he has said that I don't understand it. Okay? Because he has not gone to the original textbook. So that I don't think that that is much of a...
But what's happened to Gandhiji in India in the modern day? He seems to be forgotten.
Nobody is remembered. Now what has happened? Stalin, what has happened? Hitler, I can't even pronounce the word in Germany. They will munch my nose flat. Punch my nose flat, is it? That is all great men. Whether good or bad, in their time they must have done. But
So one last question, Swamiji. If suppose India suddenly became communist or something and decided like China to get rid of religion, would you think Hinduism would still survive?
what is their definition of religion? Church, mosque, or the temple, and their rituals. Isn't it?
Yes.
All these will go away. Still the Vedanta will stay.
So it's not geographically...
Never, never. Islam came and broke all the idols, isn't it? About 400 years they have been breaking idols. Only their muscles developed. Our religion did not break. There's only a symbol. So long as the philosophy remains. So long as the first mantra or the Ishavasya Upanishad remains, philosophy is in the country, it will come up.
Isavashedam Sarvam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there it is. Chinmaya Mission. That was the channel that I had his stuff, and there's a lot of other people on that channel. In South Melbourne, and its president, Dr. Miss Ganapathy, for making this something possible. Oh man, the cameraman, man, you should get something a little bit better than a potato. No, I'm just joking. 1984, man. God, I'm glad we still got the film. Good job of preserving it, whoever did that. I will say though, on audio, hopefully, I don't know if you're gonna have the same issue as me or not, but I can only hear it in one ear. Static plus voice on mine. But yeah, it's really cool. I didn't know he went to Australia. I wonder where he mostly stayed at. Like, from the older videos that reacted to his, it seemed like he was in India. I wonder where he stayed most of his life at. I gotta look all this stuff up and also look up the missions that he's done, especially in the United States. Just curious as to where it's located at and how it's doing. Well, that is my reaction to the Australian interview of Swami Chinmayananda. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down, down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.